West must not normalize relations with Putin again, says Boris Johnson.
Here's a summary of the article.
The West must not make the mistake of normalizing relations with Vladimir Putin again after the invasion of Ukraine, Boris Johnson has said, as he warned that allowing Russia to win would herald intimidation from the Baltic to the Black Sea. The Prime Minister gave his latest assessment of Russia's invasion of Ukraine at Conservative Party conference, describing the Kremlin's actions, a vicious and a barbarian attack on innocent civilians, the likes of which we haven't seen since the 1940s. He warned that if Russia were to succeed in Ukraine, then it would be the end of freedom in Ukraine, would mean the extinction of any hope of freedom in Moldova and Georgia, and would represent a green light to autocrats everywhere. Citing the world's response after Putin's invasion of Crimea in 2014, he said, "I know there are some around the world, even in some Western governments, who say that we're better off making accommodations with tyranny. I believe they are profoundly wrong, and to try to renormalize relations with Putin after this, as we did in 2014, would be to make exactly the same mistake." Giving his own analysis of Putin's motives in invading Ukraine, Johnson said it was because the Russian leader was frightened of having a democratic neighbor with a free press and free elections. You have to ask yourself why he did it. Why did he decide to invade this totally innocent country? He didn't really believe that Ukraine was going to join NATO anytime soon. He knew perfectly well there was no plan to put missiles on Ukrainian soil. He didn't really believe the semi-mystical guff he wrote about the origins of the Russian people. Nostradamus meets Russian Wikipedia. That wasn't what it was about. I think he was frightened of Ukraine for an entirely different reason. He was frightened of Ukraine because in Ukraine they have a free press and in Ukraine they have free elections.
This post received a score of 59,000, with an upvote ratio of 89%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
What a godsend this invasion has been for Boris's political career.
Labour had a 14% lead at one point, now the average is 5%. This invasion hasn't saved him in the long term, but it's kept him safe in the short-medium term.
People forgot about those COVID parties really fast.
We've not forgotten. There's just fuck all we seem to be able to do about it.
Stop voting in Tories.
People who vote Tory still blame the previous Labour government from 10 years ago for today's problems. It's fucking annoying. Boris Johnson could punch the Queen and people would say, well, she probably had it coming. The Tories literally threw massive parties at 10 Downing Street during lockdown and people will say, well, Keir Starmer had a beer in a room with 2 other people during lockdown, so ha.
RPM. Left behind his security detail to go to a private party, with girls, with the son of a KGB agent, then he made him a lord, against the explicit advice of his own security services.
Yeah. But Keir Starmer eats pasties in a funny way. Probably.
This is the biggest one for me. I'm no fan of Starmer, but look at all the shit Johnson has done before and since becoming PM, and he's still fairly comfortable. Ed Miliband got fully rinsed for pulling a funny face while eating a sandwich.
Miliband got rinsed because he stabbed his own brother in the back.
Best case scenario. In a few days they're one. Tibia Putin.
I wish so. Still, he doesn't exist in vacuum. There are oligarchs and Siloviki and other cronies that make such a toxic Russian regime. So, even with Putin's gone, relations must not normalize. At least not until Russians pay Ukraine for all the damages they caused. And then some more. Edit. Corrected over zealous autocorrection of Siloviki.
Man, I wish Russia would be more friendly with West and develop their own country. It could be so good.
Yeah, as a Finn I'd love to have a peaceful Russia next door, but instead we have this thing.
It's the Russian curse. They seem to find form of a decent democracy and always end up with corrupt, evil leaders.
It doesn't help that the baby oligarchs found friendly allies in the West to launder their money. The rich and politically connected in the 90s created this mess.
Oh, you mean Trump? The Swiss and German banks.
We get all the funding we need out of Russia. Little Trump.
I'm glad someone said this. There can't be normal relationships with Putin after launching his criminal actions in Ukraine and threatening everyone, particularly with nukes.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes. and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.